It's currently 10:20 p.m. These are some leftovers from when I had some shrimp and salmon. And that Mom made around 5:45 p.m. I also had some broccolini with the salmon and shrimp I had at that time. There is leftover broccolini, but I decided I'm going to have that at a later point. And then around 2 p.m., I had the other beef-flavored phenomenal faux bowl. That I got from Wegmans the other day. Speaking of which, roughly from 2:30 to 3:45 p.m., I technically walked to Wegmans and back twice. I only intended to walk to Wegmans and back once, initially to return some container deposits, since I noticed there were some containers that had deposits on them. I.e., I know that Coca-Cola bottles, the plastic bottles, always have a container deposit on them. Generally, as long as it's not tea or lemonade, it'll probably have a container deposit. Teas never have container deposits, and this extends to things from Brisk, as well as those aluminum cans. That are flavored, that are mango flavored. I don't quite remember the brand name, but I've had them before, but I generally don't have them these days. These days I usually have milk, or water is what I have most often. I've heard of a few lemonade-based things having a deposit on them, but generally, if it's lemonade or tea-based, it probably won't have a deposit on it. That's just from my experience, though. that white plastic garbage bag that I brought to Wegmans, that I put the deposits in, the containers in, wasn't exactly full, but it was enough to get back 3/4. Yeah. And Mom gave me some money to get a gallon of whole milk from Wegmans. To some extent, I actually prefer getting things from Wegmans compared to the corner store, because I have a belief that getting things from Wegmans is cheaper than getting things from the corner store, since I figure that a supermarket will generally have lower prices than a convenience store, simply because a supermarket can more often order in bulk. And the cashier that I checked out at had enough change that they were able to break the $20 bill I was given. I think initially it was a $20 bill, then there was an offer for a $10 bill, but then I think I insisted on the 20, since some combination of me wanting to make sure there was enough, and that was what was initially offered. The pants I wore to Wegmans and back had zippers, zipped pockets, so I put the $20 bill and then its change into the right pocket, zipped it up. And then for the left, and this change was mixed in with the 3/4 I got for my 25 cents. And then for the left pocket, I put in that white plastic garbage bag. I think, if I recall, the left glove. I generally wore the right glove, but not the left, since when I wear gloves, I'm not able to operate my phone, which I generally use to listen to music through YouTube. I think generally the music I listen to, at least some of it, hey, while still copyrighted, it's not triple A music. It's more like things like it's some triple A music, some remixes of triple A music. Triple A music is what I refer to as stuff that's played on the radio, or that would be played on the radio. Though since I have access to YouTube, I can also listen to, again, remixes of AAA music or music from movies or remixes of music from movies. Generally on the way to and back from Wegmans, when I could, I listened to Gonna Fly Now or Getting Strong Now from Rocky Balboa. I believe I listened to that music straight, meaning it wasn't remixed, or if it was minimally remixed. It's a good motivational music track. When I got back from the first walk, within a minute I noticed I only had one of my gloves, so I figured I must have dropped, again, the left glove, since I couldn't find it anywhere on this kitchen table or the front hallway. That connects the kitchen that connects both the kitchen and the living room. It's the area I enter when I come in the house through the front door, which I do most of the time. Or at least a majority of the time. So I started walking back to Wegmans looking for the other glove, and I didn't find it until I got to the Tim Hortons on the sidewalk. Which means I nearly walked back to Wegmans again, but thank goodness I found that other glove. I must have dropped it somehow, or it must have fell out of my left pocket, because the first time I walked back from Wegmans, I carried that full gallon of whole milk, and I figured it wouldn't spoil while walking the mile or so back from that Wegmans. since at the time it was around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Which generally isn't cold enough for me to consider that I need gloves. I only brought gloves since I from experience holding a full gallon of milk makes your hands feel colder. So if the Wegmans is a mile away, that means I walked nearly 4 miles today. Still, this wasn't too bad for me. The soles of my feet were a little sore after getting back the second time. And by the time I got to Wegmans, the first time I walked to Wegmans, well, the only time I walked to Wegmans, I technically walked to Wegmans twice, since the second time I went out to look for that glove, I nearly walked to Wegmans again. And had I not found it by then, I probably would have told the staff at Wegmans about it. But when I got to Wegmans on the first walk, I was sweating. I think because I rested in order to redeem the deposit returns and in order to get that whole gallon of milk. I didn't really break into a sweat again during that second trip, at least not more than on the first walk to Wegmans. That initial walk to Wegmans. Generally, since getting back from walking in the mid to late afternoon, which I primarily did in order to get some exercise, I've been working on the current polystyrene drawing. As of now, I don't believe I've made any major mistakes, but there are a few things that I feel in the future that I should do a little differently. But I think it's turning out pretty good so far. I'm getting less intimidated by doing arms. It's ultimately a matter of deciding how thick to do the arms at times. And another thing to think about in regards to doing arms in the future is how to depict the bend that's created by the elbow. Generally, when it comes to drawing arms and hands, I try to just look at my own hands and arms in order to determine what I should do. And most people's thumbs don't bend like mine does. But generally, this only happens when I intentionally bend it. A hand at rest can be kind of like this, though it's just to some extent it's a matter of finding and looking at reference images. Generally, the part of the arm that's above the elbow is longer than the part that's below the elbow. Excuse me. And I typically have the above the elbow part go this way, and the below the elbow part go this way. And based off my own judgment, is when I decide to move on to the next part when it comes to the whole shoulder, arm, hand part. The shoulder generally has this semicircle shape, though it's slanted a bit, since again I have the part above the elbow go this way. I recall from 7 to 10 p.m. doing anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen practice sessions of Spanish on Duolingo and the first level of Match Madness, so I could keep my place in a Diamond League on Duolingo. I had to do this primarily because I forgot about the Night Owl. I forgot to open the Night Owl chest to get a 15-minute double experience potion, which would have doubled the amount of experience I would have gotten on each practice session, which is usually just a few minutes, takes just a few minutes on Duolingo. Because I believe I was up around 6 in the morning. Roughly from 6 to 7 in the morning, but then I fell asleep. I was doing things for task for Queen's Blade Limit Break, though at that time I didn't care about doing everything there was to do on there. I got up for today around 10:30 in the morning at the earliest. After I fell asleep, I think around 7:38 in the morning at the latest, though I think more likely I probably fell asleep probably 7:30 to 8 in the morning was when I fell asleep in the morning, and then I got up around 10:30 at the earliest. But thankfully I was able to keep my spot in a Diamond League, so that's good. It took a Herculean effort over the past few hours, at least compared to what I usually do on Duolingo. It was interesting to see all those different Spanish words and conjugations of Spanish verbs. But yeah, it was quite an effort compared to what I usually do, but still not too bad. It was spaced out over a few hours. By the time I noticed that I needed to get some more XP to get myself out of that Diamond League's demotion zone, which thankfully I managed to do.